Behind every historical artifact or object at a museum, there's a perfectly normal and rational explanation as to how and why it came to be. Yet every so often, something is discovered that leaves scientists and historians utterly shocked, to the point of dedicating years of their lives trying to shed light on its origins. Here are 15 of the most bizarre historical finds ever reported. Number 15. Chinese by Disck in Kentucky. Chinese by discs are no mystery to scholars. These 5,000-year-old ceremonial jade pieces are well documented, usually ring-shaped, engraved with both spiritual and natural motifs, and buried with high-ranking guys in Neolithic China. What remains utterly puzzling, however, is how one surfaced in a Kentucky backyard in 2015. The disc, crafted from nephrite jade, bears a shui dragon design and 4 Chinese characters. It is, by all scholarly standards, an authentic by disc. But its sudden appearance in a garden in Harrison County, without any apparent cause, defies logic. One day it was absent, and the next it lay uncovered on the grass. The man who found it had no clue what he'd stumbled across, and it took him 2 years to get it formally identified. While forgery seems unlikely, some speculate it was thrown there by someone else. But who discards something so rare? Perhaps history isn't buried. It's just relocating itself. Number 14. Coffin Torpedo. Luckily, we now live in an era where grave desecration is almost non-existent. When someone passes, their final resting place is typically left in peace. That wasn't always the case. In the 19th century, grave thefts were disturbingly frequent. Concerned families feared their loved ones' remains would be disturbed. That's when coffin torpedoes entered the scene. Philip K. Clover, an artisan from Columbus, Ohio, filed a patent in 1878 for one. It was a straightforward mechanism. If someone pried open the lid, the pressure would trigger a small charge filled with lead shot. The thief would find themselves needing a casket of their own. A few years later, Thomas N. Howell patented an even more sophisticated model in 1881 that acted like a pressure mine. The black market trade in corpses faded by 1913, bringing an end to this morbid trend. But for a few decades, the dead were armed, literally, against posthumous violations. Number 13. Siberian bear hunting armor. Bear hunting in 19th century Siberia was dangerous business. These beasts, when provoked, didn't back down easily. To lower risk, hunters took precautions, including wearing suits that made them look like walking human porcupines. As bizarre as they appear, evoking images from a low-budget horror flick, these were basic yet effective forms of armor. Crafted from double-layered leather stitched together, the outer layer was studded with inch-long iron nails. These suits wouldn't make you invincible, but they might make a bear reconsider after one swing left it with bleeding paws. The nails, along with the thick leather, offered just enough protection to possibly survive an attack. And while they wouldn't stop a determined bite, they made eating the wearer far more difficult. That said, many believe anyone willingly provoking a bear deserves what they get. Even with armor like this, entering a bear's territory was a gamble. Number 12. The Highleberg electric belt. During the late 1800s, electricity was still new and awe-inspiring. While its most visible application was lighting homes, some inventors believed it could treat virtually anything. The Highleberg electric belt was one such device, essentially a jockstrap outfitted with electrodes designed to administer gentle electric shocks. Far from torture, this was marketed as therapy. Its inventors claimed it could cure conditions ranging from impotence and fatigue to rheumatism, insomnia, poor circulation, and even kidney ailments. Users were instructed to wear the belt, activate the current, and let the mild voltage work its supposed magic. Though it briefly gained traction through mail-order catalogs, it never became a mainstream medical solution. We have no confirmed reports of the device harming anyone, but just as little evidence it ever worked. As a relic of medical history, it stands as a curious moment when enthusiasm for new technology briefly outpaced scientific understanding, sparking some truly shocking health claims in the process. Number 11. Tiny abacus ring. If you agree with the notion that the abacus marks the beginning of the computing era, then this next relic might be history's earliest form of wearable tech. Originating during China's Qing dynasty around 300 years ago, this is a miniature abacus ring. Measuring under half an inch across, it's fully operational, though far too small for fingers. Instead, it's worked using a thin tool like a pin or needle. Such rings were known as zhusuan, and typically featured 7 rods with 7 beads each. Merchants used them for swift on-the-go calculations during transactions. The exact originator of the zhusuan concept remains unknown, but its logic builds naturally upon the first Chinese abacus, invented by Cheng Dawei during the Ming dynasty. While not as quick or precise as a digital calculator, it certainly outperformed guesswork or finger counting. In its time, this tiny ring wasn't a novelty. It was a tool of trade, precision, and practicality. Number 10. Yap Rai stone money. In today's world, we've finally grasped that money doesn't need physical form. Cards, digital wallets, and cryptocurrencies all serve the same purpose. But alternative currencies have existed long before Bitcoin. A prime example, the Rai stones of Yap Island, Micronesia. These immense stone discs, some weighing up to 9,000 pounds, once served as a recognized form of currency. Despite their impractical size, they were highly valued. Made of limestone, a material not found naturally on Yap, they were likely transported by boat from places like Palau, the nearest limestone source. These stones have been there for over 500 years. The logistics of moving such massive slabs across oceans without modern equipment remain baffling. Why choose limestone? Why carry it from another island when alternatives surely existed? Whatever the reason, this wasn't symbolic. These stones were legal tender, proof that even the most implausible objects can become currency when societies agree on their worth. Number 9. Tobacco smoke enema. In the 17th and 18th centuries, one of medicine's most baffling remedies was the tobacco smoke enema. At a time when death was often misunderstood and poorly defined, family members would occasionally try to revive a recently deceased loved one using this odd method. The process involved using a bellows-like device to blow tobacco smoke into the rectum of the unresponsive individual. Physicians believed this might trigger respiratory activity. Though strange, the idea is thought to have originated with Native American healing practices, later brought to Europe and adopted into mainstream medicine. In London, the Royal Humane Society even placed tobacco enema kits along the Thames for use on drowning victims. There are a few documented cases where the method reportedly worked, though that's highly questionable. It wasn't until the 1800s, when nicotine's dangers became clear, that the practice fell out of favor. Until then, it stood as a super bizarre footnote in the history of resuscitation. Number 8. Vindolanda horse sandals. The Roman fort of Vindolanda near Hexham remains a rich archaeological site. Excavations continue steadily, revealing new artifacts almost weekly. Among the most fascinating recent finds are ancient Roman horseshoes, known as hippo sandals. 4 of these metal hoof covers were discovered in near-pristine condition, with visible tread patterns designed to secure them on the horse's feet. Radiocarbon dating places them in the 1st century. Across 500 years of Roman occupation, 9 separate forts were built atop this location, each new legion constructing over the ruins left behind by their predecessors. This has made excavation slow and complex, yet these hippo sandals offer a tangible link to the deep, centuries-old bond between humans and horses. While today's horseshoes are more comfortable and refined, these crude iron designs speak to a long-standing relationship, one built not on comfort, but on necessity, military discipline, and utility across difficult terrain on the empire's northern frontier. Number 7. Ancient trigonometry table. Not every ancient civilization left behind complete records. Thankfully, the Babylonians did, and their legacy confirms they were astonishingly advanced in mathematics. Over 3,800 years ago, they understood numerical principles far beyond their contemporaries. We know this due to artifacts like the clay tablet known as Plimpton 322. If modern interpretations hold, this relic wasn't just a number chart. It may have served as a reference tool for constructing everything from temples to schools and even pyramids. Found in the Sumerian city of Larsa, now Tel al-Senkere in southern Iraq, the tablet was discovered in the early 1900s. Yet it took scholars 7 decades to decipher its deeper meaning. What they found were Pythagorean triples, numerical relationships taught in modern trigonometry. This revelation rewrites history. The Greek astronomer Hipparchus, long credited with inventing trigonometry 2,000 years ago, wasn't the originator after all. That honor rightfully belongs to the Babylonians. Plimpton 322 proves it. Number 6. Mother Goddess Cibili statue in Turkey. Excavations at the ancient stronghold of Kurul Kalesi in Ordu yielded a holy find in 2016, a 2,100-year-old marble statue of Cibili, the Phrygian earth goddess. The sculpture, although weathered and stained from centuries underground, depicts the deity seated and pregnant. Despite its modest height of 3.5 feet, the statue weighs over 450 pounds. The fortress itself had collapsed during a Roman assault, preserving this artifact under layers of rubble. 2 years later, additional statues of Pan and Dionysus were discovered in the same spot. Though the Romans may have laid siege to the fortress, it was already established by the time Homer penned the Iliad, which even references it by name. Ironically, the violence that once aimed to destroy this site may have been the reason these mythological relics survived. Their survival adds depth to our understanding of pre-Roman Anatolia and the cultic worship practiced across the region. Number 5. Victorian taxidermy. Taxidermy has long divided opinions. Some view it as a valuable means of preserving animal specimens for study, while others find the entire concept unsettling. If you fall into the latter category, brace yourself. Victorian taxidermist Walter Potter became infamous for creating elaborate scenes with preserved animals. He wasn't content with traditional mounts. Instead, he arranged kittens playing croquet in parlors and rabbits seated in a makeshift classroom. Perhaps most bizarre was a feline wedding, complete with 2 stuffed cats exchanging vows before an audience of finely dressed kitten guests. His taxidermied squirrels took a more unsavory turn, lounging in makeshift saloons, puffing cigars, and playing poker. The animals, wired together and filled with sawdust, created vivid, if eerie, vignettes. While undeniably a form of artistic expression, Potter's work pushed the boundaries of taste. It remains one of the strangest and most curious examples of Victorian-era eccentricity, both admired and critiqued. Number 4. The Tomb of Mayu. The Saqqara necropolis in Egypt remains one of the most expansive and active archaeological sites on Earth. In September 2018, it opened a new chamber to the public, the Tomb of Mayu. Though the tomb was originally uncovered in 1940, it took nearly 8 decades before visitors could see it. Mayu wasn't a pharaoh, but held the high-ranking title of vizier under Pharaoh Pepi during Egypt's 6th dynasty, more than 4,300 years ago. The tomb itself is immense, positioned close to the step pyramid of Djoser. Inscribed across its walls are Mayu's extensive titles, no fewer than 48, including Chief of Judges and Royal Document Scribe. One inscription also references the deity Khenti Amentiu, a precursor to Osiris, marking the first evidence of this god being worshipped in Lower Egypt. The grandeur of the site mirrors Mayu's powerful role in court and offers new insight into religious transitions in early dynastic Egypt. Number 3. Jade Wine Corp. Since we're on the topic of shocking historical craftsmanship, the Olmec artifact discovered in Veracruz, Mexico, back in 2015, stands out. It resembles a decorative wine cork, but it dates back roughly 2,600 years. Its creation required remarkable effort. Jadeite, the material it's carved from, is harder than steel. Still, the piece displays smooth lines, engraved markings, and intricate contours, all shaped with incredible precision. The Olmecs are best known for their massive stone heads, but this item proves they excelled in smaller works too. It's difficult to imagine such skill being wasted on something without meaning. The artifact's function is unknown, though some scholars suggest it might represent a stylized ear of corn, a crop central to Mesoamerican life. Still, like many ancient items, that's just informed guesswork. Whatever its true purpose, the sheer labor involved in shaping such unforgiving material confirms it held significant value to the people who crafted and preserved it. Number 2. The Manoan Tomb. Back in November 2018, a farmer on the island of Crete accidentally made an extraordinary archaeological discovery. After parking his truck beneath an olive tree, the ground unexpectedly gave way beneath it. Upon returning to examine the collapsed earth, he found himself peering into an untouched underground chamber that hadn't been opened in 3,600 years. Inside was a Manoan tomb, carved into the natural limestone. It held 2 clay larnacs, coffins, each containing male skeletons. Surrounding the coffins were elegant burial vases, suggesting the interred men were of high status. Unlike other nearby Manoan sites that were looted long ago, this tomb was sealed and preserved. The find reshaped long-standing theories. Historians once believed Manoans stayed close to lowland settlements, avoiding regions like Italo-Acarnania, where this tomb was found. But the pristine condition and remote placement of the burial site challenged that assumption, providing a rare and undisturbed glimpse into elite Minoan funerary customs. Number 1. The medieval shame flute. In medieval Germany, being a bad musician wasn't just embarrassing, it was punishable. If your street performance displeased the public, you might be strapped into a Schandflote, or shame flute. Made from heavy iron, the device locked around the offender's neck while their fingers were bolted onto the fake instrument's body, rendering removal impossible. But that wasn't all. The disgraced musician was paraded through the streets, humiliated by jeering crowds and pelted with spoiled fruit and rotten vegetables. The punishment ended only when local officials declared sufficient suffering had occurred. Some endured hours of public ridicule. While it seems barbaric by today's standards, it was a powerful incentive for musicians to improve. Medieval society didn't just tolerate poor musicianship, it actively shamed it. And while the shame flute didn't produce any sound, it made plenty of noise in the town square as a symbol of public embarrassment and musical failure. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.